The world as you know it begins to dissolve the moment the metal skin of the aircraft passes over the jagged ivory coastline of the world's largest island, a place where the concept of time is dictated not by clocks, but by the slow tectonic pulse of ancient ice. To arrive in Greenland is to strip away the noise of the modern age and surrender to a silence so profound it feels like a physical weight upon the chest, a quietude that is not merely the absence of sound, but the presence of something primordial and watchful. As we descend toward the edge of this frozen continent, the horizon stretches out in an endless ribbon of bruised purples and ethereal blues, where the sky meets the ice cap in a blur of frozen mist that defies the human eye's ability to find a fixed point. This is a land of paradox, a place where the earth is still being born and simultaneously preserved in a deep crystalline sleep. And as the wheels touch the gravel runway of Kangerlussuaq, you realize that you have stepped out of the flow of conventional history and into a realm where nature remains the absolute and undisputed sovereign. The air here is a revelation, sharp, impossibly thin, and carrying the scent of nothingness, a purity that burns the lungs with a cold, metallic clarity that makes every breath feel like a deliberate act of survival. You stand on the edge of the tundra, looking out toward the distant, shimmering wall of the inland ice, a monolithic sheet of white that contains the memories of 100,000 winters, and you feel the immense scale of this place shrinking your ego until you are nothing more than a speck of warmth in a universe of frost. There are no trees to break the line of sight, no towering forests to offer shelter. There is only the raw, exposed bone of the planet, polished by the wind and scarred by the movement of glaciers that grind the mountains into dust with a patience that spans eons. Here, the light plays tricks on the senses, stretching shadows across the valleys until they look like deep, ink-filled scars, while the sun, even when it hangs low and pale on the horizon, illuminates the ice with a radiance that seems to glow from within the frozen water itself. As we begin our journey, walking slowly across the permafrost, where the tiny, resilient mosses and lichens cling to the rocks like velvet, the realization settles in that this is the domain of the Great North, a landscape that does not care for the arrival of man, yet offers a strange, haunting welcome to those who are willing to listen to its stillness. The transition from the world of steel and glass to this world of granite and ice is a psychological shedding, a gradual realization that here the distance between life and death is measured in the thickness of a parka and the reliability of a thermal flask. We are moving toward the coast, where the mountains rise like jagged teeth from the freezing depths of the North Atlantic, and where the icebergs, ghostly cathedrals of frozen salt and fresh water, drift in a slow, silent procession toward the open sea. This is not a journey of checklists or landmarks, but a journey of the spirit, an immersion into a wilderness so vast that it forces you to confront the breathtaking fragility of your own existence against the backdrop of an eternal white infinity. In this first hour of our arrival, as the pale light of the Arctic afternoon begins to deepen into a long, lingering twilight, the landscape reveals its secrets in layers, showing us the intricate patterns of the frost on the stones and the way the wind carves ripples into the snowbanks like the waves of a frozen ocean. We are standing at the gateway of the Arctic, a place where the legend of the North begins and the myths of the people who call this ice home come to life in the dancing flickers of the atmosphere. Every step forward is a step away from the familiar, a descent into a quietude that demands a slower heart rate and a more observant eye, inviting us to witness the slow-motion drama of a planet that is still cooling, still shifting, and still dreaming under its heavy mantle of snow. The silence is the first thing that changes you, a silence that rings in the ears like a distant bell, reminding you that you are a guest in a cathedral of ice, and that the story we are about to tell is one written in the language of the wind and the ancient echoing crack of the breaking glacier. As you move deeper into this pristine wilderness, leaving behind the hum of the small settlement, The sensory landscape of Greenland begins to reveal itself with a startling, raw intimacy that feels almost intrusive. The first thing that truly strikes you is the sound, or rather, the lack of it, followed by the realization that the silence of the Arctic is actually a complex, multi-layered symphony of the elements. When you stand still on the edge of a fjord, the air carries a faint, high-pitched whistle, the sound of the wind being shredded by the razor-sharp edges of the basalt cliffs, a melodic haunting that seems to vibrate within your very bones. Then there is the ice. It is never truly quiet. From the distance of the water, a sound like a muffled gunshot echoes across the stillness, the white thunder of a glacier calving, a massive wall of frozen history shearing off and collapsing into the sea, with a deep, resonant boom that you feel in the soles of your feet long before the sound reaches your ears. Closer to the shore, the Burgee bits and growlers, smaller chunks of ice that have broken away, hiss and pop as they melt in the salt water, a phenomenon known as pizzle, caused by the sudden release of ancient air bubbles trapped for millennia under immense pressure. This sound, a delicate crackling like 1,000 tiny glass bells shattering at once, is the literal breath of the prehistoric world escaping back into the atmosphere, a conversation between the deep past and the immediate present. The air itself has a physical presence here, a weight and a texture that changes as you move from the dry interior tundra toward the moisture-heavy breath of the sea. The scent of Greenland is perhaps the most difficult thing for the human mind to categorize, for it is defined by an absence of the organic decay we associate with the rest of the world. There is no smell of damp earth, no rot, no heavy perfume of flowers. Instead, the smell is overwhelmingly blue, a sharp, ozone-rich scent of frozen mineral and brine that feels as though it has been filtered through a mile of solid crystal. When the wind shifts and blows off the inland ice, it carries a scent that can only be described as eternal, a sterile, cold vacuum that smells of nothing but pure oxygen and pulverized stone. Yet, as you walk through the low-lying valleys where the dwarf birch and willow huddle against the ground, a sudden, fleeting sweetness emerges, the faint herbal musk of the Arctic bellheather and the damp, earthy aroma of peat that has been frozen since the time of the Vikings. It is a fragile, shy scent, easily overwhelmed by the metallic tang of the sea spray, which hangs in the air like a fine mist of salt and crushed shells. To experience Greenland is to understand that your ears and nose have been dulled by the cacophony of civilization. Here, every sensory input is magnified 100-fold by the surrounding emptiness. You hear the rhythmic flack of a raven's wings as it passes overhead, the sound so clear you can distinguish the individual feathers catching the air, a dry, leathery sound in the immense vault of the sky. In the small harbors, the water lapping against the hulls of the wooden fishing boats doesn't sound like the soft sloshing of warmer climes. It has a percussive, brittle quality, as if the water itself is on the verge of turning to glass. The smell of the harbor is a stark contrast to the purity of the mountains, a heavy, oily scent of diesel mixed with the primal, iron-rich aroma of fresh fish and sealskin, a reminder that in this land, life is a visceral, bloody struggle, sustained by the bounty of the freezing deep. This contrast between the sterile, crystalline heights and the pungent, working life of the coast creates a sensory tension that keeps you perpetually alert, as if your body is remembering an ancestral state of being, where every sound could be a warning and every scent a map. As the evening settles and the temperature drops, the sounds begin to change again, hardening with the frost. The snow beneath your boots begins to squeak with a high-pitched metallic protest, a sign that the moisture is being sucked out of the air and the world is tightening its grip. You might hear the distant, mournful howl of a sled dog, not a bark, but a primal, melodic ululation that starts with one animal and ripples through the pack until the entire landscape seems to be crying out to the stars. It is a sound that connects the human experience to the wild, a bridge between the warmth of the hearth and the cold indifference of the tundra. In these moments, as you stand enveloped in the scent of wood smoke drifting from a distant chimney and the sharp, biting cold of the coming night, the sensory map of Greenland becomes a part of you. You are no longer just an observer. You are a participant in a world where the air is a tonic, the silence is a teacher, and every breath is a reminder that you are profoundly, vibrantly alive in the heart of the great white silence. This is the sensory threshold, the point where the mind stops trying to name things and simply begins to feel the immense, vibrating reality of the North, a place where the smells and sounds are as old as the mountains and as fresh as the morning's first frost.
To enter a Greenlandic home is to understand the true meaning of warmth, a concept that is not merely about the temperature on a thermostat, but about a spiritual defiance against the overwhelming cold that waits just outside the door. In the small, brightly painted settlements like Ilulissat or Itkorktormit, the architecture is a vibrant rebellion against the white-gray monotony of the winter, with houses painted in bold primary reds, deep ochres, and bright blues, a traditional color-coding system where red once signified the house of a priest or commercial manager, and yellow marked the domain of the doctor or hospital. Inside, the transition is instantaneous. The heavy, fur-lined door closes, and the biting wind is replaced by the soft, domestic scent of seal oil lamps, coffee, and the sweet yeasty aroma of fresh kalalit kagiat bread. Life here is lived in the nook, the small, intimate spaces where families gather to share stories that have been passed down through generations, stories that are less like fairy tales and more like survival manuals, teaching the young how to read the clouds for an approaching storm or how to respect the spirits of the sea. There is a profound sense of community, a social fabric woven so tightly that the concept of mine and thine often blurs when it comes to the hunt. When a hunter returns with a seal or a narwhal, it is not just a personal victory, but a communal feast, a tradition known as Ningik, where the catch is shared among those who need it most. This is not charity, it is the fundamental law of the North, a recognition that in a land where the earth provides no fruit or grain, we are entirely dependent on each other and the dark, icy waters of the fjord. The Greenlandic relationship with the landscape is one of deep, quiet observation rather than conquest, a philosophy that is embedded in the very structure of the Greenlandic language, Kalaallisut. It is a polysynthetic language of incredible complexity, where a single word can describe an entire sentence, capturing the nuance of a specific type of snow, whether it is the crusty layer that can support a sled or the soft, treacherous powder that hides a crevasse. To speak this language is to see the world in high definition, to acknowledge that the ice is not a static object, but a living, breathing entity with its own moods and intentions. The people here do not see themselves as masters of the Arctic, but as its tenants, living in a delicate balance with the sila, a word that simultaneously means the weather, the universe, and the consciousness of the world. This spiritual connection is felt most strongly during the long polar night, when the sun vanishes for months and the world is illuminated only by the stars and the shimmering green curtains of the Aurora Borealis. During these dark months, life slows to a rhythmic, meditative pace. Women sit for hours meticulously sewing intricate patterns of avitat, tiny bits of dyed leather, onto traditional garments, while the men repair harpoons and sledges, their movements echoing the patience of the hunters who must wait for hours by a breathing hole in the ice. Modernity has arrived in Greenland, bringing with it the hum of the internet and the glow of television screens, yet it has not erased the primal core of the Inuit identity. You see it in the way a teenager in a designer hoodie still knows how to expertly skin a seal, or the way a modern fishing vessel still carries the traditional charms of the ancestors for good luck. There is a unique resilience in the Greenlandic soul, a quiet strength that comes from centuries of adapting to the most extreme conditions on Earth. The children here are raised with a remarkable degree of independence, allowed to roam the rocky hills and ice-rimmed shores from a young age,
learning through experience that the world is a place of both immense beauty and lethal danger. This upbringing fosters a certain type of adult, calm, resourceful, and possessing a dry, understated sense of humor that serves as a shield against the harshness of the environment. They do not complain about the cold, they simply dress for it. They do not fear the isolation, they embrace it as a form of freedom. This is the culture of the Kalalit, a people who have looked into the white void of the north and found not a wasteland, but a home rich with meaning, color, and a profound, enduring warmth. Beyond the physical walls of the settlements, the cultural heart of Greenland beats in the rhythmic hike of the sled dogs, animals that are neither pets nor livestock, but essential partners in the choreography of survival. These dogs are the descendants of the first canines brought by the Thulu people, and their howling is the ancient soundscape of the Arctic night, a sound that carries the weight of 1,000 years of shared history. To watch a hunter prepare a sled is to witness a ritual of precision, the checking of the sealskin traces, the balancing of the load, and the quiet guttural commands that the dogs understand with an instinct that bypasses human language. There is an unspoken pact here. The humans provide the food and the care, and the dogs provide the movement and the warning of thin ice or approaching polar bears. In the winter months, when the fjords freeze into solid highways of white, the dog sledge remains the most reliable form of transport, a technology that requires no fuel other than meat and no maintenance other than respect. It is in these long, silent journeys across the frozen sea that the true character of the Greenlander is revealed, a person who is comfortable with their own thoughts, who finds peace in the repetition of the trail, and who views the vast, empty horizon not as a barrier, but as a playground of infinite possibility. The social gatherings, known as kafamit, serve as the vital pulse of the community, where the doors of a house are open to anyone who wishes to celebrate a birthday, a first hunt, or a confirmation. These are not formal parties, but fluid, continuous streams of hospitality, where coffee is poured into porcelain cups and the tables groan under the weight of traditional delicacies like suasat, a hearty soup made of seal meat, onions, and rice. In these moments, the stories of the day are woven into the legends of the past, and the laughter of the elders mingles with the high-pitched chatter of the children. It is a space where the trauma of colonization and the challenges of climate change are met with the armor of collective identity and the resilience of a people who have outlasted empires simply by knowing how to live with the ice. You notice the eyes of the people, clear, steady, and possessing a depth that suggests they have seen the edge of the world and found it beautiful. They are a people of the sea, their lives dictated by the tides and the migration of the whales, and their art reflects this deep-seated connection to the animal kingdom. From the intricate carvings of tupalaks, spirit figures made of bone and antler, to the contemporary paintings that capture the electric glow of the icebergs, Greenlandic culture is a constant dialogue between the tangible and the spiritual, the hunter and the hunted, the ice and the fire. As the midnight sun circles the horizon during the brief, explosive Arctic summer, the culture shifts into a state of joyous, frantic activity. The hillsides erupt into a carpet of purple saxifrage and yellow poppies, and the sound of children playing in the freezing surf of the bays echo against the granite cliffs. This is the time of the great gatherings, of music festivals held under a sun that never sets, where traditional drum dancing, a rhythmic, hypnotic performance of storytelling through movement, takes place alongside modern rock concerts. The drum dance is a powerful link to the pre-Christian era, a way of settling disputes and sharing history through song and the steady, heartbeat-like thump of a framed drum made of caribou bladder. To watch a drum dancer is to see the history of the Inuit people embodied in a single person, their face a mask of concentration, as they bridge the gap between the physical world and the spirit realm. This ability to hold the ancient and the modern in a single harmonious grip is the secret to Greenland's survival. It is a culture that does not break because it knows how to bend with the wind, how to melt with the summer and freeze with the winter, remaining always resilient.
The deeper you venture into the heart of the Greenlandic wilderness, the more the land begins to whisper its secrets, revealing a collection of anomalies and hidden truths that defy the standard logic of the southern world. This is a place where the geography itself is a grand illusion.
For beneath the crushing weight of the 2-mile-thick ice sheet lies a hidden continent, a vast subglacial canyon system that dwarfs the Grand Canyon in scale, stretching for over 700 kilometers and remaining invisible to the naked eye. This subterranean world is a time capsule of a planet before the frost, containing ancient riverbeds and valleys that have not seen the light of the sun for millions of years. Yet they dictate the flow of the glaciers above, guiding the slow, inexorable march of the ice towards the sea, like the veins of a titan. Even the very ground beneath your feet is deceptive. Greenland is experiencing a phenomenon known as post-glacial rebound, where the Earth's crust, finally relieved of the weight of melting ice, is slowly rising back up, as if the continent itself is taking a long, deep breath and expanding upward into the thin Arctic air. This is a land where the magnetic North Pole is a wandering ghost, dragging the needles of compasses into a dance of confusion, reminding the traveler that here, the fundamental forces of the Earth are in a state of constant, restless flux. Among the most enigmatic inhabitants of these waters is the Greenland shark, a creature that embodies the slow, patient pulse of the Arctic more than any other living thing. These silent giants, gliding through the darkness of the deep fjords, are the longest living vertebrates on the planet, with some individuals estimated to be over 400 years old. Imagine a creature swimming in these sub-zero depths today that was born when the first wooden ships were beginning to explore the edges of the map, a witness to centuries of human history while moving at a pace so glacial it is barely perceptible. Their hearts beat only a few times a minute, and their flesh is toxic if consumed fresh, containing high concentrations of urea and trimethylamine oxide, a natural antifreeze that prevents their blood from crystallizing in the crushing cold. To encounter the lore of the Greenland shark is to confront a scale of biological time that makes the human lifespan seem like a mere flicker of a candle in a blizzard, a reminder that in the deep, cold dark, life has found a way to persist through a strategy of absolute, unwavering stillness. The sky above Greenland holds its own collection of mysteries, most notably the Fata Morgana mirages that frequently haunt the horizon. Due to the intense temperature inversions where cold air sits trapped beneath a layer of warmer air, light is bent in extraordinary ways, causing distant icebergs to appear as towering, impossible castles in the sky, or making the flat horizon ripple into the shape of mountain ranges that do not exist. Early explorers were often lured to their deaths by these ghost lands, sailing towards shimmering cities of ice that vanished as they approached, leaving them lost in a featureless white void. This atmospheric sorcery is joined by the diamond dust, not snow, but tiny ground-level ice crystals so fine they hang suspended in the air, catching the sun's rays to create halos, parhelia, or sundogs, where 3 suns appear to hang in the sky simultaneously. It is a world of optical trickery, where the line between reality and reflection is permanently blurred, forcing the observer to distrust their own eyes and rely instead on the primal instincts of the soul. Beyond the visible light, the ice cap acts as a massive acoustic mirror, amplifying sounds from miles away and creating strange auditory illusions that can drive the uninitiated to the brink of madness. You might hear the sound of footsteps on the snow when you are alone, or the distant murmur of voices that turn out to be the wind rushing through the fluted columns of a nearby iceberg. This Arctic silence is so absolute that it creates a psychological phenomenon where the brain begins to generate its own sounds to fill the void, a sensory deprivation that has sparked legends of mountain spirits and hidden civilizations living within the ice. Furthermore, the ice itself is a repository of cosmic history. Scientists drilling deep into the sheet have discovered layers of dust from volcanic eruptions that occurred in the time of the pharaohs, and even microscopic particles of gold and lead from the height of the Roman Empire, carried by global winds and preserved in the pristine frozen layers.
To touch the surface of the Greenland ice cap is to touch a physical library of everything the Earth has ever breathed, a frozen ledger of the planet's triumphs and tragedies. The flora and fauna of this land have developed survival mechanisms that seem like something out of a science fiction novel. Take the woolly bear caterpillar, which lives for nearly 14 years in a cycle of freezing and thawing, spending the majority of its life as a solid block of ice, its heart stopped and its blood filled with glycerol, only to wake up for a few brief weeks each summer to feed on Arctic willow before freezing again. Or consider the narwhal, the unicorn of the sea, whose spiral tusk is actually a highly sensory organ with millions of nerve endings, allowing it to taste the salinity and temperature of the water to find breathing holes in the shifting ice. Even the rocks of Greenland are among the oldest on Earth, with some formations in the Isua Greenstone Belt dating back nearly 3.8 billion years, containing the chemical signatures of the very first life forms to ever exist. In Greenland, you are not just traveling through space, but through deep time, walking on the literal foundations of the world and breathing air that was trapped in ice before the rise of man. Finally, the island is the site of the global pulse, where the massive discharge of fresh water from melting glaciers into the North Atlantic threatens to disrupt the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt, the system of currents that regulates the climate of the entire planet. This makes Greenland the most important laboratory on Earth, a place where the future of our civilization is being decided in the slow drip of melting ice. The scale of this transformation is so vast it can be seen from space, yet on the ground it manifests as a haunting beauty, rivers of sapphire blue meltwater carving canyons through the white ice, and massive sinkholes called moulins that swallow entire lakes in a matter of hours, sending the water roaring into the dark abyss of the glacier's base. To understand these secrets is to realize that Greenland is not a remote, isolated rock, but the beating, frozen heart of the world's climate, a sentinel of the North that holds the keys to our past and the warnings for our future.
To stand on the periphery of the Greenlandic ice sheet is to confront a scale of geography that is almost impossible for the human mind to reconcile with reality. We are used to landscapes that are measured in miles and hours, but here, the dimensions are geological, and the history is written in the movement of continents. Greenland is not merely an island. It is a gargantuan white heart that pumps the lifeblood of the North Atlantic, a remnant of the last ice age that has persisted for nearly 3 million years. The sheer mass of the ice is staggering. It covers roughly 80% of the landmass, an area equivalent to the size of Mexico or 3 times the size of France, with a thickness that reaches over 3 kilometers at its center. This means that if you were to stand at its highest point, you would be elevated by a mountain of frozen water, looking down upon a world that has been flattened by the unimaginable weight of trillions of tons of pressure. This weight is so great that it has actually depressed the center of the island's bedrock, pushing it below sea level and creating a vast bowl-shaped interior that would be a shallow sea if the ice were to vanish tomorrow. The history of this land is a saga of endurance and disappearance, a narrative of human migration that began over 4,000 years ago when the first Paleo-Inuit crossed the frozen bridges of the Smith Sound. These were the pioneers of the deep cold, the Saukak and Dorset cultures, who followed the tracks of the muskox and the breathing holes of the seal into a world of absolute isolation. They were followed by the Thule people, the direct ancestors of today's Greenlanders, who brought with them the advanced technologies of the kayak, the umiak, and the dog sledge, tools that allowed them to master the open sea and the shifting ice. Yet, perhaps the most haunting chapter of Greenland's history is that of the Norsemen, led by the outlaw Eric the Red, who arrived in the late 10th century. It was Eric who gave the land its deceptive name, Greenland, an early act of branding to lure settlers to the relatively lush, grassy fjords of the south, during a period of medieval climatic warming. For nearly 500 years, these Norse colonies flourished, building stone cathedrals, raising sheep, and trading walrus ivory with the courts of Europe, only to vanish into the mists of history as the climate cooled and the Little Ice Age tightened its grip, leaving behind only the lonely, silent ruins of Halsey and Brattahlid. The geography of the coastline is a fractal masterpiece of stone and water, where the fjords cut deep into the heart of the mountains like the jagged scars of an ancient battle. These fjords, some of which stretch for over 300 kilometers, are the arteries through which the glaciers bleed into the sea, calving icebergs that are often the size of small cities. To sail through the Scoresby Sund, the largest fjord system in the world, is to move through a cathedral of granite and basalt, where the walls rise vertically for thousands of feet, their summits crowned with hanging glaciers that look like frozen waterfalls suspended in time. The scale is so vast that a massive cruise ship looks like a child's toy against the backdrop of the cliffs, and the silence is so heavy that the sound of a single stone falling into the water can be heard for miles. This is a land that forces you to acknowledge your own insignificance, a place where the mountains do not have names and the valleys have never known a human footprint, a wilderness that remains as raw and indifferent as it was at the dawn of creation. The political context of Greenland is equally fascinating, as it remains a constituent country within the Kingdom of Denmark, but operates under a system of extensive self-rule. It is a nation in transition, balancing the traditions of a hunting culture with the aspirations of a modern, resource-rich state that sits at the center of global geopolitical interest. As the Arctic ice melts, new shipping lanes are opening, and vast deposits of rare earth minerals, gold and oil, are becoming accessible beneath the retreating frost. This has placed Greenland at the heart of a modern Great Game, where world powers cast their eyes toward the north, yet the people of Greenland remain fiercely protective of their sovereignty and their environment. They are a people who have survived the collapse of empires and the whims of the climate, and they view the current global interest with a characteristic Arctic skepticism, knowing that while politicians may talk and ice may melt, the spirit of the land, the Sila, will always have the final word. Tracing the path of the great explorer Knud Rasmussen, who mapped the northern reaches of the island during his famous Thule expeditions, one begins to understand that the map of Greenland is not just a layout of land and sea, but a map of the human spirit's capacity for wonder. Rasmussen, born of both Danish and Inuit heritage, was the bridge between two worlds, translating the myths and songs of the Arctic for a global audience, and proving that the primitive cultures of the North possessed a philosophical depth that rivaled the great civilizations of the South. Today, the legacy of these expeditions lives on in the scientific research stations scattered across the ice sheet, such as Summit Station, where researchers live in a state of perpetual winter to study the atmosphere and the history of the Earth's climate. These outposts are the modern equivalent of the Norse settlements, lonely bubbles of human warmth in a universe of white, where the primary objective is not survival, but the pursuit of knowledge in a place that has guarded its secrets for eons. As we look at Greenland in its global context, we see a land that is both a victim of and a witness of the changing world. It is a sentinel, a canary in the coal mine for the planet's health, yet it is also a place of profound, unchanging beauty that offers a sanctuary for those seeking to reconnect with the primal rhythms of nature. The scale of the island is its protection, its isolation is its strength. Whether you are looking at the jagged peaks of the East Coast or the sprawling ice fields of the interior, the feeling is the same. You are at the edge of the known world, standing on a frontier where the maps end and the mystery begins. This is the context of Greenland, a bridge between the ancient past and an uncertain future, a land that remains, in every sense of the word, epic.
As our journey through the crystalline expanse of Greenland draws to a close, we find ourselves standing on a silent, rocky outcrop as the sun begins its long, languid descent toward the horizon. A descent that, in this part of the world, never truly ends in darkness during the summer, but instead dissolves into a permanent, ethereal twilight.
The air has grown even stiller, if such a thing is possible, and the distant groans of the ice sheet have softened into a rhythmic pulse that feels like the very heartbeat of the planet. There is a profound sense of resolution in this light. The sharp edges of the icebergs are blurred by a soft violet haze, and the deep turquoise of the meltwater lakes turns to a reflective silver, mirroring a sky that is a gradient of bruised plum, pale gold, and translucent rose. In this final hour, the frantic pace of the modern world feels like a fever dream from another life, a noisy hallucination that has no place in the presence of such ancient, unhurried majesty. We are left with the realization that Greenland is not just a destination or a geographic entity, but a state of mind, a reminder that there are still places on this earth where the silence is sacred and where the hand of man has yet to dull the sharp, vibrant edges of the natural world. The warmth we carry with us now is not from the sun, which hangs like a pale, heatless coin in the sky, but from the memories of the people and the resilience of the life we have witnessed. We think of the sled dogs curled into tight balls of fur against the snow, their breath rising in steady plumes of steam as they dream of the trail. We remember the quiet dignity of the elders in the colorful settlements, whose laughter echoed the crackling of the ancient ice. This land, often mislabeled as a desolate wasteland, has revealed itself to be a sanctuary of the essential, a place that strips away the superficial and leaves you with only the core of your existence. Here at the end of the world, you do not feel lonely. You feel connected to a vast planetary narrative that spans billions of years, a story written in the layers of the ice and the grit of the granite. The Santa Claus of childhood legend, while a charming layer of the island's modern folklore, is merely a shadow of the true magic that resides here, the magic of a world that is still being born, still freezing, still breathing, and still dreaming under its heavy mantle of white. As we prepare to leave this cathedral of frost, we take one last breath of the Arctic air, that sharp, metallic tonic that cleanses the spirit and clarifies the vision. The landscape seems to bid us a quiet, indifferent farewell, the glaciers continuing their slow, majestic march toward the sea long after we are gone, unbothered by our passing, but forever changed by the witness we have borne. The long twilight deepens, but the stars do not yet appear. Instead, the horizon glows with a persistent, ghostly radiance that promises a tomorrow just as bright and just as cold as today. We carry with us the silence of the fjords, the scent of the ozone, and the knowledge that in the far, frozen reaches of the north, there is a land that remains wild, a land that remains true, and a land that will always wait for those who seek the truth in the heart of the ice. Our footsteps on the permafrost will soon be covered by the next dusting of snow, but the imprint this journey has left on our souls is as permanent as the bedrock beneath the glacier, a frozen anchor in the shifting currents of our lives. The journey ends not with a grand finale, but with a whisper, the soft hiss of the wind over the snow crust, and the distant, melodic peasel of a melting iceberg. We turn our backs to the north, but our hearts remain tethered to the ice, forever haunted by the beauty of a world where time is measured in eons and where the light never truly dies. In the quietude of this departure, we find a strange, unexpected peace, a sense of having returned to a home we never knew we had, a place where the earth and sky meet in a kiss of frost and fire. Greenland, the great white silence, remains behind us, a sentinel of the planet's past and a guardian of its future, shimmering in the eternal twilight like a diamond set in the crown of the world. And as the plane lifts off, banking over the jagged teeth of the coast, we look down one last time at the infinite white, knowing that we have been changed by the ice, and that the North will always be calling us back to its cold, beautiful, and lasting embrace.